We are live back here at the Pulse Radio Studio down here at Boise State University. You are listening to Blue Collar Sports. If you're with us through Periscope and Twitter, you are watching us down here at Blue Collar Sports. It's been a great show so far. Lots of the NBA, obviously NFL season now behind us. We are going to cover some football come up for you next segment. We did talk some Kyler Murray. Golf got thrown in there after Trevor had a great weekend down at
Pebble Beach,
historic place. Thanks again for this awesome hat.
Absolutely, not a bad place to be, and I knew how much you like golf and like that course. You're going to play there one day, I know it, and I had to get you a souvenir.
That's the goal. That's a bucket list thing for sure. But we've had lots of NBA talk so far, and we're going to continue that trend. If you tuned in with us last segment, you heard our true-false game, which is a game we played a lot. Go through true-false questions. This one is about the rest of the NBA season and perhaps a little bit more in the future. And Trevor asked me 10 great questions. Last segment opened up for a lot of discussion, and now it's time to flip it to the other side.
Yeah, I'm ready to get to it. I had some good questions for you, Seth. You had great answers, great analysis, and I'm ready to get back into it with your questions.
Well, let's start right up with it. With my first question, we kind of talked about it a little bit, but come playoff time, Thunder Warriors will be the Western Conference Finals.
Interesting one here, because I do think Warriors will get the 1 seed. I do think the Thunder will get the 2. We'll get into this. You know, I did think it was going to be absolutely the Lakers, but right now, I'm going to have to say true. That is the true answer right now.
Going against your guy.
Well, we'll get to it.
Then going to the other side, Raptors-Celtics will be Eastern Conference Finals.
Raptors-Celtics, very interesting. You know, it all depends on where the standings play out. Ooh, I'm going to have to say false. I think the Sixers will be one of those two teams. I don't know which one they'll take the place of.
Interesting. We'll talk about that. That's for sure. James Harden comes into the season right now averaging 36.5 points per game. He will finish the season averaging above 35 points per game.
Above 35, that's a lot of points. I'm going to say false. I think it'll be he's got that streak, 30-point streak right now. It's fantastic, but I do think he'll slow down a little bit once we get closer to playoff time, and he's going to be somewhere in between 32 and 33.
32 and 33. Think he's peaking a little early?
Possibly.
Fourth question now, going back to your guy and your team. The Lakers will finish top 5 in the Western Conference.
Top 5 in the West? Unfortunately, I'm going to have to say false.
You're just slamming LeBron right now.
Oh, I know. This is the hardest I've ever been on it before. They will make the playoffs 100%. Absolutely, they will make the playoffs. But top 5, that's a long ways to go. They need to focus on just getting in for sure right now, and they're going to get the 6th or 7th seed.
You kind of have a similar question, but end of the season's over, MVP trophies given out, it goes to Giannis Antetokounmpo.
You know, this one's a tough one for me. I just didn't see it going into the season. I know he's had so much hype around him. I'm going to say false.
You're going to say false. We'll talk about that. Number 6, Russell Westbrook finishes the season averaging a triple-double for the 3rd consecutive season. He is averaging it right now, right? I'll bring up his stats real quick, but I know he is averaging a triple-double.
That'd be a remarkable feat. I know you're not big into the triple-doubles, but 3 years in a row, that'd be pretty remarkable. I'm going to say false, though. I think this will be the year, and that's because Paul George, it's his team now. He's going to have more control of this team. Is going to go through Paul George, and Russell Westbrook knows that. But it's going to be very close. It's going to be something about 26, 11, and 9 or so. So it'll be very close, but I don't think it will be a triple-double again.
He is currently averaging 21.2 points per game, 11.2 assists, and 11.1 rebounds. But yeah, definitely
pretty
still
remarkable.
long ways to go. 7th question now. 76ers now have the 2nd best starting 5 in the NBA. Of course, behind the Golden State Warriors, who I think would be a walk-in at number 1.
Yeah, absolutely. In the NBA, it's tough. I wanted to have the Celtics in there first, but right now they're not playing like it. You know, Toronto's got a good lineup. Milwaukee's not bad. Oklahoma City, I really like their starting 5 a lot. Steven Adams is one of my favorite centers in the league. Mm-hmm. But, you know, what the Sixers did, I do think if you just look at their starting 5 itself, yeah, I think for me it is true. They do have the 2nd best starting 5 in the league.
Then you had them, I believe, 2nd in your power rankings, or 3rd?
I had them
Thunder
3rd behind the Thunder and the Warriors in my power rankings. Number 1 team in the East, though.
Number 1 team in the East. Interesting. We're going to talk about that here in a second as well. Number 8, Nuggets will win their first round playoff series?
Ooh, I like this one. I do see the Nuggets possibly finishing third or fourth in the West. I do think they are playing well enough where they're going to finish near the top. I do think the Thunder will likely get to number 2. But then here comes the Lakers. The Lakers will get 6 or 7. And they're probably going to have to face the Nuggets. And I think that's a very great matchup for the Lakers. And, I'm sorry, Nugget fans, but I'm going to have to say Ball State will not win a first-round playoff series.
Will not win their first-round playoff series. Number 9, the Sacramento Kings make the playoffs.
I would love to see the Kings make it. I really do. I love De'Aaron Fox. He's a fantastic player to watch. Bagley's been turning it up lately. That's great to see. He's had some monster games the past couple of nights. So that's cool. Harrison Barnes is having a big impact on that team right now. So I really like what they're doing, but I just don't see them making the playoffs. I think the Lakers get in there. I don't think the Clippers do. And, yeah, I would say the Kings drop out. The Lakers will take their place, and everybody else is going to stay. So, unfortunately, I'll have to say false. But I do like where the Kings are headed. They're definitely in the right direction.
They're a young team, too. Bogdan Bogdanovic is a great young player that no one really talks about. Buddy Hield's still a young player as well. De'Aaron Fox and Marvin Bagley, they got a great future there in Sacramento. Mm-hmm. Number 10, speaking of a young guy, Markelle Fultz saves his career in Orlando.
Saves his career. You got to define saving your career in this particular question. Everyone's going to be different here. For me, it's just making it in the NBA right now. Don't be.
I was going to say a sure starter. He becomes a sure starter. A guy you have to start.
Oh, man, I think it's out of question that he will not be the number 1 pick that we all thought he could be. It's going to be very tough if he could do that. So I don't see that happening. A sure starter. In Orlando, I'm going to have to say, they don't have anybody else. So right now, it's going to take work, absolutely. It's going to be a few years before this happens. But I do believe he will be a starter in the NBA one day. Probably it looks like Orlando's going to take that trust in him, develop him. And I really hope he is able to take that next turn and be a starter,
Yeah, we'll see. I really hope so. I want to see this guy get a chance. Orlando is a great fit for him.
Yeah.
They do not have a point guard at all. So he will get an opportunity in Orlando, so I do like that fit.
And so that was 10 great questions,
Yeah, that wraps up questions. Now to talk about them a little bit. I want to start with the first one, of course. Thunder Warriors in the Western Conference Finals, which means not only is LeBron James not in either of our NBA Finals, he will not even be in either of the semifinals. How do you see the West playing out? I kind of gave my prediction last segment. I want to hear how you see. You got the standings on screen right here if you want to see the standings. Yep. But I want to see how you see it playing out.
Yeah, of course. I got the Warriors number 1, of course. They're going to finish number 1. I do have the Oklahoma City Thunder number 2. I talked about them. They're going to face off against the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals, which I just said. I did the Nuggets. They're a nice team, but they're not going to get the 3rd seed. I think it's going to be the Houston Rockets getting the 3rd seed here. And then Nuggets will be 4. Let's say the Jazz are 5, Trailblazers are 6. The Lakers will be number 7, and the Spurs are number 8. So, unfortunately, if that does happen...
So that means you got Lakers losing round 1.
If that does happen, it will be tough to see the Lakers lose round 1, but then it's going to shape up for the offseason. And it's because Sunway is not going to be fully healthy going into the playoffs here. Josh Hart's not out there right now. LeBron will be right there, but I don't know if everyone's going to be there. We'll see what Lonzo is able to do once he gets back. So they need those guys to be healthy, and it's going to be tough to see that happening. Hopefully the Nuggets still get the 3rd seed. Lakers actually get the 6th seed. And if that happens, then the Lakers will definitely win the first round. But then I do think it will be the Thunder and the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. And the Thunder will give them a run, just like the Rockets did last year, but it just won't be enough.
Oh, man, that would be the most stress-free situation for me ever, not having to deal with worry about LeBron James in the playoffs. I would love to see that happen. And I think if you're the Thunder and the Nuggets especially, you've just got to be hoping you don't get the Lakers, because I do not want LeBron in the playoffs round 1 after an incredible season. And then I'm big time on the Jazz right now. I really hope they don't get the Lakers as well. And I don't think they will. They're both kind of near the bottom right now. So I don't think they will draw each other. Now going to the Eastern Conference, you said false to the Raptors-Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. You said true to the 76ers having the second best starting 5. And you had them 3rd in your power rankings. Are the 76ers your favorite to win the East right now?
Right now, my NBA Finals prediction is Warriors and Sixers.
Wow.
I think the Sixers are my favorite team in the East currently.
Wow.
Celtics can come back and change that, absolutely. I'm still waiting for the Celtics. But right now, Sixers got the best starting five in the Eastern Conference. They got good leadership with Jimmy Butler. Joel Embiid is doing great stuff. Tobias is a fantastic role player. Ben Simmons doesn't have to be.
Tobias.
He doesn't have to be too much. He's got to do his own game. He's got to facilitate, get the ball out of his hands. And I think the Sixers are loaded up to be the best team in the Eastern Conference right now. And I think they could beat the Raptors. I think they could beat the Bucks. And then it's going to come down to them and the Celtics possibly getting into the NBA Finals.
That's interesting. I know a lot of people like what the Sixers did. I did have them as one of my losers during the trade deadline.
No way.
I did not like the risk they took. I do like Tobias Harris. I just, come playoff time, I still like Raptors Celtics Eastern Conference Finals. But I personally, I would think it'd be a very entertaining finals to see Joel Embiid and Jimmy Butler go up against Draymond Green and the attitude of the Warriors. I think that'd be a very interesting NBA Finals. But it's interesting to actually hear their name in the NBA Finals.
And let's go back a little bit. If you tuned into Blue Collar Sports last year, the Philadelphia 76ers is where I wanted LeBron James to play.
Yeah, that's right.
And, what a lot of things would have been different if that happened. Obviously, they probably wouldn't have had Jimmy Butler.
Right.
Wouldn't have had to make this trade for Tobias. But you had JJ, you had Ben, you had Joel Embiid.
Sarge would have been there.
Sarge still would have been there. So I think that would have been a really good team still. And I would have liked him to make the NBA Finals with that team also. So I wanted that to happen. That did not happen. But now the Sixers made some other moves that no one saw coming. And I do think they're the favorites in the East for me right now.
Yeah, Sixers, see, that's why I kind of had them as a loser at the trade deadline, because this whole time, for the last couple of years, they've been trust the process.
And now they're one of the top teams.
And they are one of the top teams this season, but if it doesn't work, they just wasted a lot of that process on trying to be good this season. So I think this season is huge, because if Butler and Tobias Harris are both free agents, if they both walk, they just lost Saric, they lost Covington, Fultz is now gone. A lot of the process is gone to acquire those guys. So that's why I think it's a little risky, but it all depends on how they play this year.
We'll see. It's all about winning right now.
It is all about winning right now. And now I want to ask you, get to the MVP conversation. We talked about it. You asked me a question about it as well. You said false to Giannis winning MVP, and you said James Harden drops his points per game by about 4 to 3 points. Do you see Paul George as the front runner, or do you like Harden?
I think Paul George is really slipping in there into the mix right now. Giannis probably is the front runner, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I do, even though James Harden, his points slipped down, I could still see him winning it because I think his team will still finish fairly well. He won it last year, and usually you see back-to-backs like this. So I could definitely see him win it. Paul George, if he's able to keep doing this, he can win it. My pick. And LeBron James probably not going to win it just because.
I pick Anthony Davis.
Just because he's been out, if he wasn't out, this team would be a 4 seed, and he'd definitely win MVP. But that's not going to happen right now. That'll be next year. So Giannis, I could see that happening, but I don't think it's going to be. That's not what's going to happen. I think it will be Paul George or James Harden.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about we always start the year NBA season with a debate on who's going to be MVP. I believe both years you've taken LeBron.
Who won it, all right? Just like Kevin Durant.
The NBA, he hasn't won
What
MVP.
else would you do?
But it's funny because I was looking back 2 years ago. I said Kawhi Leonard in San Antonio doesn't even play for the Spurs. Goes through all that drama. This year I said Anthony Davis, who went through the exact same drama. So I'm going to ruin someone's season next year too.
It's just like the Madden curse. You need to stay away from some top players. Antonio Brown. We didn't talk about it, but he was on the Madden cover. Now he wants out. He wants to be traded. It happens every year.
That's big news. He officially, he's even sent out, I don't know if he sent out a tweet.
I can't stand it.
Saying, thank you, Steeler Nation. It's been a great 9 years, but it's time to move on. Dude hasn't even been traded yet. He just said he wants a trade.
Yeah.
I thought that was a very, very interesting move. I think even if they don't trade him, there's no way he's ever going to play another game for this.
We'll talk about that next segment, but definitely don't like what's going on.
Yeah, lots of big stuff going on there, that's for sure. But that wraps up all my questions. I believe I covered all 10 of them.
Yeah.
You went in depth and had some great answers.
Yeah, absolutely. So did you. You had great 10 answers for my true or false questions. So did you, Seth. So good stuff there. We had this game. We're wrapping it up. We played it before. NBA true or false questions. And we're kind of dictating what's going to happen the second half of the NBA season.
Yeah, you heard a lot of our predictions right there. We are heading off to break, but stay tuned. We got one more segment. We're going to talk about a sport a sport we've talked about, but a league we have never talked about. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be our last segment before our 100th show. Stay tuned.